Good morning, everyone, and welcome to All Saints Church Rector's Forum. For those of you who are streaming with us today from all over the world, we welcome you. We're very, very happy that you're here. If you're in the room and are a newcomer or a visitor, we welcome you. We would love to know of your presence because we would like to have you on our mailing list. Every Thursday afternoon, I send an email blast to about 10,000 people who, even though they don't live in Pasadena or Los Angeles, want to know what's going on here at All Saints, and making sure that people do know who's going to be in the Rector's Forum and who's going to be up at bat in the pulpit and what they're going to be preaching about. So, if you would like to be on our mailing list, there are green sign-up sheets over on this table, the book table, on clipboards. Please sign up there. We always want to make sure that we're taking an opportunity to invite people to give, because giving is a part of your health, your spiritual health. And so at the welcome table and the red table on the edge of the lawn, we have pledge cards for anyone who would like to help us underwrite this and other expenses and of the mission of All Saints Church. Finally, we have action going on at our action table every Sunday. A part of All Saints' practice of faith, of Christian faith, is to turn that faith into action. And today we are focusing on Nepal, asking for their debt to the IMF be forgiven. They're having to pay out $4 million a week when they're also trying to serve the humanitarian crisis as a result of the earthquake. We have books at the table to be sold today. Rarely do I promote my own book, but you'll hear in the introduction of our speaker in just a moment how important he is to my writing of my book. So my book, 8 Habits of Love, is available for sale. And also, and that's this book, also one of the most important books I've ever read, called The True American Murder and Mercy in Texas, which is the story of what happened to our speaker and his amazing journey to forgiveness from his Muslim faith, scripture, heart, and tradition of the man who shot him in the face with a double-barrel shotgun and killed 2 of his colleagues working with him in a convenience store in Dallas right after 9/11. We are approaching July the 4th, and I find this to be an amazing story about what is being an American, what is involved in being a patriot, what is America all about. And it reads like a movie. Interestingly enough, it's being made into a movie, and that's one of the reasons we get to have our speaker with us today. He's in town doing some work with the award-winning Catherine Bigelow, who is doing the movie of our speaker's life. A word or two of introduction. It was July 2011 that I was writing this book and happened to be working on the chapter on forgiveness when I read in the New York Times about our speaker's efforts to stop the execution of his assailant. Although it was not covered every day after that, I managed to find some news report about the saga because we were leading up to the execution of Mark Stroman, and our speaker was trying his best to prevent that from happening to his own perpetrator. And he and so many other people were unsuccessful. Mark Stroman was actually executed. But for a 2-week period, I actually lived with today's speaker in my heart, praying for him. I actually became a stalker of him, trying to get him to come to speak at All Saints Church, and was not successful until my Muslim friends at the Muslim Public Affairs Council, who knew of my desire to have Rais here, invited my wife and me to actually sit at his table and the table of the author of this book at their annual convention this past December. And at that point, I invited him to come. I want him to, every time he's in town, to be here, because he's such a rare exemplar of the radicality of forgiveness. So only one other thing I need to say, particularly for those of you who are streaming with us, because Rais will be showing some copyrighted video material that, for us today. We are not able to stream that, so we're going to interrupt the streaming at particular parts, but please stay with us. We will bring you back in, but we simply don't have the copyright authority to show these in streaming and our YouTube presentation. So, will you from your heart join me in welcoming one of my great heroes and one of our newest best friends at All Saints Church, Rais Bhuiyan. Welcome, friends.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is the greetings that Muslims exchange among each other. Like Shalom Aleichem among the Jews, Namaste among the Hindus, and peace be with you among Christians. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ed Bacon, my friend, for inviting me to share my story and to talk about the transformational power of forgiveness from my personal experience. I'm honored. Thank you. When William Blake, the great Christian mystic who lived in 18th century England, was once asked, what was the revolutionary message of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him? What concept did Christ express, articulate, embody for humankind that no one before him had done? Mr. Blake answered that the revolutionary message of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, was the idea of forgiveness. This revolutionary message was so powerful that even during the crucifixion, Christ, peace be upon him, asked for forgiveness for the people who organized his own execution. A similar message of mercy and forgiveness was echoed in the prayer of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when Angel Gabriel asked him if he wanted to punish the people of Taif, a city near Mecca, who brutally tortured him because he was preaching one God's message in their city. We can quote a similar message of mercy and forgiveness from other religions too, but the point I want to make here is that most world religions include teachings in the nature of forgiveness. The question may arise that why do people kill people, commit violence, take revenge in the name of religion? There's a simple answer to that. There are lots of good people in every religion, but there will always also be a few who, instead of serving religion, use as an excuse to justify their bad behavior. And why they do that? Well, it is either because of material benefit, such as money, power, name and fame, or simply out of ignorance, which can be cured in few steps. Number one, learning. What is the purpose of our life? Why we are here? If you hate a person or a certain group of people, you need to ask yourself, why do you hate? Is it a virus that you caught from media, some media, or the internet, or for somebody else? What have you done so far to overcome that? Have you ever tried to learn from others? And if the answer is no, then you must need to follow the next few steps, which is number two is exposure. The willingness to connect people perceived as different. Number three, the connection. The willingness to keep trying to build bridges when others don't see the need for them. And finally, forgiveness when it is required, even radical forgiveness, so that healing can occur, so that bonds can be built. And at the beginning, I said that I'm here to talk about the transformational power of forgiveness from my own experience. So I will not go ahead and explain the first 3 points, learning, exposure, and connection. Rather, I will humbly ask you to visit my website, World Without Hate, and read the blog entitled David's Story. And I will go ahead and explain the last part, the forgiveness part, from my personal experience. And before I do that, I would like to say that forgiveness benefits everybody. 14 years back, in Dallas, Texas, a human being treated me as a lesser person simply because of my physical appearance. And he thought that this world would be a better place if I did not exist. But I responded the way my parents and my religion had taught me, with love and forgiveness. These are the core values of Islam, but also of Christianity, Judaism, and many other religions in this world. This act of mercy did not prevent profound sufferings, but it created a greater space for many other blessings showered on many other people. And I'm here to suggest that forgiveness makes us happier. Forgiveness improves our health, sustains relationships, boosts kindness and connectedness, can help heal the wounds of violence. Overall, forgiveness benefits all of us. And before I tell you my story in details, I would like to pose a very unusual question. What would you do if a man shoots you in the face and left you for dead? I want all of you to think seriously. Imagine you are minding your own business when, for no reason that you could see, a stranger raised a shotgun, aimed it at your face, and pulled the trigger. What would you do? How many of you think that something inside you might want to get back at the guy who did this to you? I see a lot of brave hands. Well, thank you. Well, it seems that it is natural to want to fight back, and there is nothing shameful in having that instinct, but sometimes instinct does not serve us as well as thought, and I'm here to tell that. But let me explain first that I was born and raised in Bangladesh in an upper middle class family. And I was very lucky to have a first-rate education at a military boarding school, later on in the Bangladesh Air Force Academy, where I learned to be a pilot. But after I graduated, I did not feel that my destiny was there. And when I got a chance to come to USA for higher education, I took it. So temporarily, I left my home, my parents, and my fiancé to go to USA to get the education that I wanted and to experience the American dream. But within a short time, my American dream turned into American nightmare. It was September 21st, 2001, 10 days after 9/11. I was working at a friend's gas station in Mesquite, Texas, when suddenly a man burst into the store wearing bandana, sunglasses, baseball cap, and he had a double-barrel shotgun that he pointed directly at my face. I was robbed in that same gas station before, so I thought it would be another robbery. And the first experience was so funny, even nowadays I still laugh when I think about that experience, that it was middle of August 2001. Around 2:30 p.m., a customer walked in with a dollar bill and a soft drinks. So he's a customer. I opened the cash register, and he took out a gun out of his pocket, and I thought he wanted to sell it. Because that gas station was in a poor neighborhood. Many times, a lot of customers came to sell their jewelry, TV, printer, computer, name anything. So I thought this gentleman needs some cash, so that's why he wanted to sell his gun. Even though I had no intention to buy his gun, I was curious. I asked him, how much you're asking for, sir? And he said, no, 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 give me the money. I said, of course, but you're not telling how much you're asking for. So I came from an Air Force background, military discipline, very polite. I was asking, sir, you're not saying how much you're asking for. He said, you're not getting it. Give me the money. I said, sure, but you're not telling how much you're asking for. So we went back and forth 3 times. And then he cocked the gun, and I knew that what that mean. And I said, oh, wait a second. Do not shoot me. Here's all the money. I just freaked out that, oh my God, he's shooting. He's just about to shoot me in the face. So I gave him the cash. He left. But when this gentleman came, I was not thinking that he's here to sell his gun. It was 10 days after 9/11, and 4 days before 21st September, another gentleman was killed within a few blocks of our gas station. So I was prepared. He walked in, I put all the cash on the counter, and I said, sir, here is all the money. Take it, but please do not shoot me. I begged him. But he was not looking at the money, though. He was looking at me. And I felt a cold air flow through my spine. Why he's not looking at the money? Why he's looking at me? And then he mumbled a question, where are you from? And that time I realized he's here for me. And since I was panicked, I said, excuse me. And as soon as I said, excuse me, he shot me from 4 feet away with a double-barrel shotgun onto the right side of my face and the right side of my head. I couldn't believe that he really shot me. I felt I was dying. I looked down to the floor and I saw blood was pouring like an open faucet from the right side of my head. And I felt it first like a million bees stinging my face. And then I heard the sound like an explosion. You can imagine what was my situation that time. Not only hearing this gunshot, but also getting the physical effect from this gunshot. I remember myself screaming, Mom, very loudly. And I placed both hands on my head as if I had to keep my brains from spilling out. And I looked left like this, and I saw the gunman was still standing and looking at me. And I thought, if I don't pretend I'm dead, he will shoot me again. I fell down to the floor, and after a few seconds, the gunman left the store. And I felt, that's it, I'm dying. The way I was bleeding. I was so panicked, I even could not dial 911. I grabbed the phone and ran outside to the barbershop next door. 3 men inside looked at me in horror and scrambling to escape out by the emergency exit door. And I screamed, do not leave, please call 911, please, I'm dying, I don't want to die today, please. I grabbed one of them, and the gentleman called 911. And while he did that, I caught myself in the mirror, and I couldn't believe that was my face, full of blood, like a horror face. And I was thinking, a few minutes before, I had been a smiling boy. A bright future had lain in front of me, and suddenly, in the instant it takes to pull a trigger, I was ugly and I was half dead. The ambulance worker found me running around screaming in the parking lot from one side to the other. And as soon as I saw the ambulance, I started running towards it, taking off my shirts, my shoes off. And the ambulance worker told me later on that they felt like they saw a slaughtered chicken running in the parking lot. On my way to the hospital, my eyes were getting closed, my brains were shutting down. I could not see anything, I could not think of anything clearly, and at the same time, images of my mother, my father, my other siblings, and my fiance appeared before my eyes, and then a graveyard. And I felt, that's it, I'm dying, and that's why I'm seeing the beautiful faces for the last time, and I'll be gone from this beautiful world. My mouth was moving like a machine because I was reciting the verses from the Holy Quran that I memorized in my childhood, and I was begging God, please do not take me today. It's too early to leave this world. I haven't accomplished anything. I haven't seen anything. I have a lot to promise that I have to take care of. Please give me a chance. And I promise, if you give me a chance, I would do good things with my life. Around 1:30 p.m., I was taken into the hospital, and finally, 5 hours after I was shot, I passed out. And the next thing I remember, waking up, since I received more than 38 pellets on my face, my jaw was completely stuck. I could not talk, I couldn't open my eyes, and I thought I died. And very slowly I asked, where am I? Because I thought now some angel will come and comfort me, or maybe some human will comfort me, either way. I was very, very afraid, and I was worrying what I would hear. And within a few seconds, I heard a voice told me, Mr. Bhuiyan, you're in the hospital. Ah, such a beautiful moment that I'm still alive. I didn't die from this gunshot. I can go back to my mom, I can hug him, I can hug her, I can kiss her. I can go back to my brothers and sisters, my siblings, my fiance. Such a beautiful moment. That was the first time in my entire life I realized how beautiful it is to live. It doesn't matter where you are, in the hospital, in the prison, on the street, doesn't matter, but you are still alive. That is the most beautiful thing on this earth. Because of that experience, when I wake up every single day, the first thing I do, I raise my hand and I say, God, thank you for giving me another beautiful day. Thank you. So I survived. But the gunman, finally it was found that the gunman, the man with the gun was Mark Stroman, a white supremacist in Dallas, who was on a shooting rampage to kill as many Muslims as possible. He shot and killed a man from India named Vasudeb Patel. He shot me on September 21st, and he shot and killed a man from Pakistan named Wakar Hassan. And he claimed that he had been hunting for Arabs, but not a one of the three men were Arab. When he was arrested, he voluntarily gave an interview to the local media, and he said that what he did, most Americans wanted to do, but didn't have the nerve. He claimed himself that he's a patriot, he's a true American, but in reality, he was tried, and he was convicted, and he was given death penalty by lethal injection in April 2002. That's not the end of the story. I'm in front of you not because that I survived, but because of I learned something from this experience that I would like to share with you. So let me tell you first that I have gained more from this experience that I have lost. Let me tell you first what I've lost. As a result of the shooting incident, I lost a vision in one eye. I had better than perfect vision, 920/10, since I'd been a pilot in Bangladesh Air Force. And as a result, I will never be able to fly in my entire life. I lost a tooth, which was thankfully replaced. I lost a home, since I could no longer work and pay rent. My father suffered a stroke when he heard what had happened to me, but he survived. My medical bills were piling up. It went up to $60,000, and I was not telling anything what I was going through in this country to my parents, so they had no knowledge of what I was going through, because I wanted to step back and fight. Maybe one day things will get better with that hope. So I applied to Red Cross to help me with my medical bills, because they were helping all the 9/11 victims, and I thought I was one of the victims of 9/11. But after several weeks of back and forth email and phone call, finally Red Cross told me I qualified for 1 week's worth of groceries. I still love Red Cross, and I support their work, what they do for humanity all over the world. I lost my security. Since one man wanted me dead, might there be others? And I didn't go outside for a while, and when I did, I kept looking over my shoulder. Who is there to kill me? It killed me, this experience, these feelings killed me for several months. From this extra report from 2012, you can see that my face was peppered with bullet fragments, which had dug themselves into my skull, and I'm still carrying more than 35 pellets under my skin. When I touch my face, I can feel it's all bumpy here. Not only that, my fiance left. Since my doctor advised me not to fly until all the surgeries were over, I could not go back home, and my fiance thought I would never be able to come back home. So at some point, she left, married somebody else. So the list is very long. I don't want to bore you by telling all the sufferings I went through, but at the same time, some good things happened too. A friend took me in, so I had a place to live. A Christian doctor perform surgeries one after another one without any assurance that how he would be paid. A Muslim man from local mosque gave me scholarship to go to school, and as a result of that education, I was able to get a good job in IT and able to start a new life. With the help of all the good people and with the mercy of God, I was finally, eventually able to get my life back on track. And I went for a Hajj, a Muslim religious pilgrimage in Mecca in 2009, and I took my mother with me, and I served my mother for a month. It was there that I realized very deeply that hate and revenge may bring temporary satisfaction, but they never bring peace or lasting solution to any situation. They only bring more disaster and misery. It was there that I realized that. I thought about my shooter, Mark Stroman, who was sitting in a death row. And I thought about him, that by executing him, we would simply lose another human life without dealing with the root cause, which in this case was hate and ignorance. I suffered terribly, but I did not see any value in him suffering as well. And I thought if he was given a chance, he might become a better human being. And I saw him as a victim too. It did not seem at the time when he stood in front of me pointing a shotgun and pulling the trigger that he was afraid. I thought I was the one who was afraid. But the truth is that Mark Stroman was uneducated and he had received poor guidance growing up. He had minimal economic prospects, and he thought every foreigner earned money in this country was taking it out of his pocket. He didn't know how to make his own situation better, and he was afraid. And at that time, 9/11 happened, which gave him permission to be angry. He targeted his fear and his anger into the barrel of a shotgun and aimed at the first easy targets, and I was one of them. But I survived. Instead of hating him, instead of treating him badly, I had learned to see him as a human being like myself. And I thought that is the right thing to do to keep him alive, maybe behind bars, from where he can contribute to society in a positive way. And I thought about my promise on my deathbed that I would do good things with my life if God gave me a chance. So I asked myself what I did so far. I had done well, but who had been benefited? Only me. Maybe because of that, I felt something was missing in my life, and I asked for guidance. God, what did you say of my life? What am I supposed to do? Help me to understand. Suddenly, I realized that he was not just the man who shot me in the face. He is another human being in pain, and maybe I can help him. So I knew with clarity what I had to do. I returned to the US and lobbied to save the life of my attacker. Thanks to Amnesty International, Muslim Legal Fund of America, Reprieve is a London-based organization who helped me to take my campaign to the European Union Parliament, German Parliament, at the headquarters of Lundbeck, the lethal injection manufacturer in Denmark, where I was able to convince them to write a letter to the governor of Texas so that they don't use their product to kill Mark Stroman, and they did that. Not only that, I also went to the US Supreme Court asking for clemency for my attacker. But despite all these efforts, Mark Stroman was executed on July 20th, 2011. But before that, he was changed. He learned about me a little bit, the man he had tried to kill. And when he heard that I organized a coalition of Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, and atheists to get him removed from death row, he was reduced to tears. And then he said that in a free world, I was free, but I was locked up in prison inside myself because of the hate I carry in my heart. It is due to Rais's message of forgiveness that I am more content now than I have ever been. Mark Stroman. Not only that, he also wrote a long letter to me, and I will just read one paragraph from that letter. This is the letter where he said that in one paragraph that my stepfather embedded some lesson that I should have never learned. It has taken me for too long to unlearn some of them, and I'm still working on some of them. I don't know who your parents were, but it is obvious they're wonderful people to lead you to act this way to someone you have every right to hate. Mark Stroman. At the end of his life, he thanked the entire Muslim community because that's not something he expected from the Muslims. He condemned his own acts of violence and he called me brother in an 8 seconds phone conversation and he said he loves me. He's the same human being who shot me in the face 10 years before for no reason, simply because of my physical appearance. And this is the man when on calling me brother and that he loves me. At the end of his life, he also condemned his own acts of violence and he called for an end of hatred, saying, hate is going on everywhere. It has to stop. Hate causes a lifetime of pain. I will run another video of Mark Stroman that he was recorded a week before he was executed. At the beginning, I said that I will share with you what I have learned. Here is what I have learned. It seems to me that although retaliation is a natural response, it does not make you feel as good as you think it will. Any harm you inflict or hope to see inflicted against another human being winds up hurting you. We are all cut from the same cloth, and when one of us bleeds, all of us bleed. And when instead we follow the direction to do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, we cannot wish harm to any human being, even someone who has hurt us. It would be like wishing harm to ourselves. And when I saw Mark Stroman was a human being like myself, and then he hurt too, I was able to forgive him in public, and I was able to wish for good things for him. And that took any hint of bitterness away from my heart and allowed me to be whole again. And you have seen the profound effect of forgiveness on Mark Stroman. So the man who had shot me in the face had changed. He benefited from my forgiveness, and I benefited from his acknowledgement that he had been wrong, that my life did have value. In the Quran, God says, idfa billati hiya ahsan, which means when people are mean, return it with good. When people are nasty, be nice back to them. What will happen? Again, God says in the Quran that فَإِذَا الَّذِي بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ عَدُوَّ كَأَنَّهُ وَلِيٌّ حَمِيمٌ, which means you'll find the person who is your worst enemy will become your best friend. And that's what happened in this story. The person who shot me in the face 10 years before for no reason went on calling me brother at the end of his life, and he said he loves me. I now am president of an organization called World Without Hate. We believe in the transformational power of forgiveness, and we are dedicated to this idea and the proposition contained within the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that all people, regardless of who they are, what they have done, they're entitled to their basic inherent human rights and human dignity. And my campaign, World Without Hate, is parallel to that very idea that all people in their own heart have to get beyond their own prejudice and to be better people, hopefully, to bring about the world that we all want. A world without hate, a world without violence, and a world without victim. And these two efforts are pretty parallel. And we must remember that a world without hate cannot be achieved until the world without hate is achieved in our heart and mind. And I'm trying to change human heart, and that's not an easy task to do. I believe all of you here want a better world, a peaceful world, right? What are you prepared to do to get it? You don't have to be shot in the face to really get involved to make this world a better place. I urge you to get involved to make a difference. It is your job, it is my job, it is all of our job. Make a difference whatever ways we can to eradicate hate and violence from this world, to make this world a better place for us and for our next generations. And while we do that, if we ever feel discouraged, I want you to remember the powerful message of Mother Teresa. And she said that often people are unreasonable and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may question your ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are honest, people may cheat you. Be honest anyway. If you find happiness, people may be jealous of you. Be happy anyway. The good you do today may be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give your best anyway. At the end, for you see, is between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. Thank you.
Will you take a question or two? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rais. We have 5 minutes, so we'll take a question or two. I don't know where the microphones are, but I'm sure somebody has them.
I'm sorry I took so long. Now the Q&A is for 5 minutes.
It's fine. Let's bring one to Bob right here. And then, is there somebody over here? We'll go ahead and queue you up. Okay, thank you. Bob?
I would love to hear more about your pilgrimage to Mecca and your mother. I could tell it was powerful for you, and it took me back to reading about Malcolm X, how he was changed when he went to Mecca. Could you tell us what it is about Mecca that changed you? Not changed you, but gave you a powerful
The
experience?
strength, sure. Yeah. Well, thank you for the question. Even though we don't have enough time to talk, explain a lot, but I will just go very briefly. Well, when I went to Mecca with my mom, the first thing came into my mind that I was supposed to be dead 10 years back. I went to Mecca in 2009. That he shot me from 4 feet away, and I received more than 35 pellets. My brain should have been blown away, or I should be paralyzed, brain damaged. But from there, God brought me to Mecca. What he wants to tell me, what kind of message he is giving me, why I'm here. Like I said, what is the purpose of life, why we're here. I spent a month in Mecca, and I was praying, and I was asking God, help me to understand, why did you save my life? What do you want me to do before I die? What are the projects that I couldn't finish yet? So I was praying every day, several hours, and I was holding the Holy Kaaba. And my mom was crying, and she was rubbing the Kaaba, and she was rubbing my face where I was shot. We could not talk. We were just both mom and son. We were crying, hugging each other, and holding the Kaaba and rubbing my face. And I could feel there is a heavenly peace. And when my mom was rubbing my face, we both were crying like babies. And I was feeling so close to God. And I felt so much peace in my heart for entire humanity, that for every human being, no matter who that person is. I spent a month like that every single day to go to the Kaaba and pray, spend there several hours, and I felt that somebody changed my heart. The heart I had before going to Mecca, and while I was there, when I come back from Mecca, I was a totally different person. I went to the cave where Prophet Muhammad used to meditate, and it's the top of the mountain, 3,000 feet, and my mom cannot climb stairs to go to 4th floor. But my mom and I, we both climbed together 3,000 feet. That's a miracle that she could go up to the top of the mountain. And that kind of like gave me a power that I came from her. She cannot go to 4th floor by climbing stairs. Now she went to 3,000 feet top to see the cave where Prophet used to meditate. That gave me another power that I came from there. Nothing is impossible. She cannot go 4th floor, but she went to 3,000 feet. Nothing is impossible. We can do everything if we have the intention to do it. So that's how I got inspired at praying, seeing my mom, and serving my mom. And in Islam it says, if your mom is not happy on you, the door of heaven is closed for you. The heaven is under your mom's feet. So make sure that you get the certificate from your mom. And I tried my best to earn the certificate, and I think I did. Thank you.
So, Ray, is there a mic here,
Bhuiyan?
please?
Rais, I need your help. I was serving as a chaplain in a local hospital in 9/11, and I'm still struggling with giving grace to the church leader, one of the Southern California mega churches, that told one of our staff members, who responded very angrily to an article I put in the hospital paper about, not all Muslims are terrorists. And she came in and shut the door and just railed at me. So it's possible that your stepfather, or Mark Sloman's stepfather or his father, had actually been encouraged with that kind of mentality in church. What's your response to that? How can you help me deal with that as a member of the clergy?
Well, this is a very good point. That's what we face every single day in our country and all over the world as well. And like I said in my speech, that there are a lot of good peoples in every religion, but there will always also be a few. There are few who use religion as an excuse to justify their behavior, and they do it because of either personal benefit or out of ignorance. So I see in this case it as a pure ignorance. So in this kind of situation, what I tell people that go to mosque instead of listening to some media, not all the media, because I'm not saying medias are bad. Some media portrays, in a bad way. So I always ask people that if you're a Muslim, go to a church, go to a temple. If you're a non-Muslim, come to mosque and see what really they do. Good example of last couple of weeks before what happened in Phoenix, Arizona. That the people who were standing outside with anti-Islam, with all those vulgar words, some of them went inside. They were invited to come to the mosque and see what Muslims really do in the church. Is there any training ground underground, or is there any really, some sorts of message they preach? So they went inside, and a lot of people came outside with a change of heart. That one guy said, "I will never wear a T-shirt with that kind of vulgar word on me." Another person says, "I feel peace when I went inside the mosque." I mean, you don't have to convert it to other faith. You don't have to accept the other faith. But we can live in a peaceful world, peaceful society once we know each other better. So that person, I would invite him, I would love to be his or her friend. I will be his first Muslim friend and talk to her or him and invite him, come to our mosque, or I would love to talk to him on the phone, or if there's anything. I see there is a huge gap in our society. And once that barrier is over, people feel totally different. So please ask, I would be happy to talk to him or encourage her at least to visit a mosque or meet a Muslim, a practicing Muslim.
Thank you, Rais.